Unmute. Uh, but I'm back. Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on No, I'm good. I'm good. You know, I've been doing this for 800 years. I know how to. Mm. That's why he don't do his show every week. Now I get it. But welcome, welcome, welcome. I am um I am ending the year on a different note. I've learned a lot of lessons. I have to get into the habit of continuously journaling these lessons because sometimes I forget them and then I run back into the same problem and then I go back to the old Myrtle Avenue Nate, Cherry Hill, Westport Nate, and then I forget, and I want to be my Forest Park Nate. I want to be the Forest Park, I want to be that Nate, you know, by the golf course a little bit down, not Garrison Boulevard Nate. Uh, but I'm really excited today. I have Mr. Frederick back with us. Am I saying your name right, sir?
Perfect. It's perfect.
I have one of my old friends. He spells his name the same way, and I just call him. He hates when I call him Frederick. But I'm really excited. I reached out to Mr. Frederick today and asked him to come on because he's been doing this program, this movement called what's wrong with me today? Okay, I'm gonna just calm down. I'm gonna calm down.
Breathe, brother, breathe.
Mentally fit. And a lot of the progress that he's making, I wanted to kind of add to this end of the year group of shows that I'm doing, and I wanted to really, pick his brain a little bit more and just have a decent conversation with another guy, as a lot of my lessons were in the direction of me being a black male. So how befitting for me to balance it off with another black male this end of the year. We're in December. This year shot by. And I've had a lot of me time. Thanks to a lot of my friends who keep in touch with me. We've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings and conversations because I have friends literally around the world that are either stationed there because of the service they're in, or they moved there, or they live there. So I've been really blessed to be able to have a good balance of people to be able to talk to and to share with. And outside of that, I spent a lot of time by myself working virtually and just trying to create and create a space for myself where, I'm as balanced as possible. But how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. No reason to complain. I could, but I won't.
There we go. There we go. But since you last were on, you actually started your first cohort of mentally fit individuals, and you just finished your first cycle
Yes.
of that. And I'm very excited to be able to talk about that. But I want to ask you again. I know we talked a little bit offline, but how does it feel to have a thought, have a goal, and reach that goal, and then you're now in it because you've now finished one cycle? How does that feel?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for, again, allowing me to come on this platform and just share. I love having these open conversations. As far as really putting things in perspective, this year, as you said, yeah, it shot by. And there are so many things that I learned towards the latter part of the year that I plan on rolling on into the 2021. One of them is the utilization of vision boards. So vision board is actually what I started using to really put something in front of me and force me to stick with it. So I put a scripture on the top of my board, which is basically Habakkuk. Excuse me. Very popular scripture. Write the vision and make it plain. So I wrote that bad boy up, and oh my gosh, it's funny. That fear and the nerves and all that stuff come up a lot. That inner voice likes to scream at you. when, you know, you write things out and you're trying to make moves towards that goal. And so that came up to me a lot, but I'm so grateful that I had such a great support system that, you know, reminded me that, hey, you already got this thing written out. It's already in your head. It's already in your heart. Just do it. So I just had to get like Nike and just do it. So I wrote it out. I worked out. I wrote out plans for it. I laid out day by day what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be talking about, and I introduced it. And those that got on board, they got on board, and we ran with it. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I did it, because it was a lot eating away at me. And once I did it and I had the amount of support that I had with it, my expectations I went above and beyond, man. It was above and beyond. We just finished the first cycle just on the 16th. So 2 days ago, actually, just finished it up. And it was phenomenal, man. It was phenomenal. So I'm so grateful to, you know, that usage of that board. That board is really what got it started, got it going, and kept me on key, kept me focused. And it's that board that I keep going back to and just, oh, now I can check that off. I started it. Let me write a new goal. Let me write a new, you know, let me add another bullet. You know, now that that part's done, let me keep adding to it and keep adding to it. So the vision board, definitely vision board, and, you know, visualizing what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about doing it.
And sometimes I always mispronounce. I think it's Habakkuk. I always, that scripture where that term comes from. Don't laugh at me, sir.
I do it all the time, bro. I did it all. I'm laughing at myself too, because I used to do it all the time. That's one of the hardest books.
Right. And I used to get in trouble in school because I never got it right in religion class. But I remember that, and I remember that scripture from school, because I went to Catholic school and we had to take religion class, so I learned that chapter. And I remember always singling out that one verse in terms of always making a plan and writing down your goals as plainly and as simple as possible, because you have to be mindful of what you ask God for, because He's going to give you exactly what you ask for. I adapted that principle, and because I'm in the performance art, I do more storyboard. It's the same concept, but I create really distinct images and visions of what I want. So if I want to connect this year, I've really made a bigger effort to connect with Black men more. That's not something that I purposefully or intentionally have done in the past. And I purposely have done that this year. That was part of my storyboard. And when I do that, I actually create the dialogue that I want to, that I have been wanting to intentionally speak with these brothers and these individuals that I'm come in contact with, or I seek out, or they seek me out, and I actually create the dialogue. So when I'm in that moment, I already know what I want to say.
Okay.
Awesome. And then I'm just opening myself up to what they have to say to me. That helps me to listen better, because I already come in with my objective. But I remember starting college, and my mother said to me, when you get in that dorm, don't be the Nate that I know you to be. Because for me, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to meet my roommate and I'm going to say, look, these are the things that I need for you to do. And this is who I am. But I've learned how to better walk into the room and ask you what your needs are. And how can I help you? And what do you like, or what do you dislike? So I can hear you speaking, and I'm learning who I'm talking to, because some of those things that I have on my list don't necessarily need to be said if, I hear what you have to say, versus me coming in there and just assuming that we aren't on the same page. So it's that storyboard has helped me to create the dialogue and the vision to getting to where I'm at. And I think this year was the first year that I applied that whole concept. I didn't do my best because nobody knew that there was going to be a pandemic that we would still be in almost 10 months later.
Yeah.
So that has made it difficult in applying a lot of it because I had to take extra steps to meet people and communicate with people and reach out on social media, if you
Yeah,
will. Uh,
it was.
I,
It was.
it's very storyboard. I love doing collages. So dream boards, I love doing them, but I get distracted sometimes doing dream boarding. And that's why I added the whole concept of dialogue to it because now I'm creating, like in a play or a movie, the dialogue. What are we gonna say? And
Right.
I mentally, whenever I meet somebody for the first time, I have the conversation in my head.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with talking to yourself. We established that the
Hey,
last
yes,
time
yes,
we was
sir. Yes, sir.
on. But
Not
I
a,
create the dialogue because sometimes the pressure of meeting people for me is a little too much. And
okay.
I avoid doing it. And I don't do it as much as I should do it because it's just sometimes it's just a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But
I got you. I got you. I got that. Yeah.
so with you making plans for your movement, how have you prepared yourself to follow through with this? Or how are you planning? Because it's an ongoing thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're exactly right. That's my whole mindset behind it is that is an ongoing thing. So it's my responsibility solely to
Mm-hmm.
keep myself in check and keep myself, doing what it is that I'm sharing with other people to do to help them
Mm-hmm.
if they are already doing it, help them to continue that habit, or if they aren't doing it, to start to build that habit. So it's my
Okay.
sole responsibility to make sure that I'm a practitioner of what I'm preaching, so to speak.
Mm,
So I have my self-care days. Today was supposed to be a self-care day, but I ended up helping my sister out. So I was out throughout the majority of the afternoon. But
how do
I
you self
am
care sidebar? How do you, if you don't want to tell us, then that's cool. But
no, it's nothing.
how do you self care?
How do I self-care? So I have essential oils that
Okay.
I use, and I place them in a diffuser that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that to, set the atmosphere, set the tone and everything, get a nice scent going. And I have a neck pillow. I got my food. I got my shakes or my water.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just sit around, just vibe to some music. I might journal. I might take a nap. I might play a video game. But I make sure that I have meditation, stretching, something
Mm-hmm.
like that involved with my self-care day. So
Okay.
there's no problem with me sharing that because everybody has their own routine, but it's whatever you do to keep yourself focused, to get your
Mm-hmm.
mind to breathe, to get yourself to breathe, to be able to, add to your awareness of self, that whole
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness. That's what, you should go into a self-care day on. Whatever helps, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel good, whatever you do to keep yourself in check, do that. But in terms of
I try to do things that are outside of my
outside of the
normal
norm,
comfort
yeah,
zone.
okay, okay, yeah,
Uh,
that's fine too. That's
or
that's
not even this comfort zone, but outside of the norm of
fine.
what I would normally do.
Mhm.
Like,
Okay.
and sometimes that cause that it forces me to make the time to do those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't allocate the time for
Yeah, and that's the big thing is the time,
it.
taking the
Mm-hmm.
time for self. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
gotta take time for self. I mean, you're around people a lot more than me, so you definitely gotta take time for yourself. And even in the what I'm doing now, I have to
Mm-hmm.
take that much more time for myself as well. Because I might
Yeah.
not be physically in front of these people face to face, but I am, meeting with them
Yeah.
on a platform like this.
Right.
So I have to make sure I take time for myself before each session.
And this right here, let me just explain to people. This year, I had already started implementing virtual um, meetings with people because I got a little tired of trying to get to everybody. Like I because I'm an artist, I do a lot of gig work. So I work with museums, I work with schools, I work at the station. I still do rehearsals. I'm an actor. So I started implementing these types of meetings uh, at one place, or I set the boundary that if it's something that you want me to do, you will come to where I'm at and meet with me on those terms. So I'm not trying to do that. So it was really this right here, I think, has tested a lot of our patience. I got tired of this in the very beginning. In the very beginning, because we kind of transitioned the radio earlier than a lot of other people did. So we were doing this. I've been doing this since the beginning of the pandemic. And
Wow.
I got really tired of this very quickly.
I imagine so. Shoot.
Right. So you gotta figure out ways and just tell people no sometimes, because this, in the beginning I got fired from a play that I was supposed to do virtually, and a lot of people were messaging me with complaints because certain meetings I wouldn't turn my camera on because it was just, that's the type of energy where you got to always be on and you got to always be, and sometimes, like in the beginning, most of us wasn't getting haircuts or shaving because we didn't know how long this was going to be.
Right.
And then I didn't feel like my presentable professional self, and people just wanted this and they wanted to see you. And that because that made them comfortable. And I had to say no a lot. And I still have said no a lot. Like, call me, or we can do Zoom or whatever, but my camera will be off, or at least for the first half of it, because this is too much in your face.
Yeah, you gotta be real. You gotta be real. You gotta be you. You gotta be real with yourself. You gotta know, and that's another big thing that I always want to make mention, even in the fit challenges, is that you gotta know you. You gotta know what drives you, what upsets you, what makes you happy, what makes you sad. You gotta know you. You got to be more aware of you.
Right.
And if you are literally the only person that you can change.
Right.
Straight up. So with even with this challenge, if I'm not constantly changing, growing, learning, then it's going to plateau. It's going to, it's not going to be able to bring value to somebody. So you gotta know yourself, man. You gotta know yourself.
And there's a lot of programs out there where you can tell that the leader of it or the facilitator of it isn't really following their goals, and they're not doing the things that they're telling you to do. I tried to do a fitness routine throughout this, and I actually went through two people, and I realized they looked like the image of what a coach would be, but they wasn't following it. And I was like, how you gonna bring Popeyes to a workout session? Like,
wow,
sir,
really?
when that happened, I was like, no, that's just because now I'm second guessing what you're saying to me, because I don't see you following your own advice. So so it's bro, for me, I really pay attention to how the facilitator is following the advice, or how they have followed. Because some people, like if you do a money workshop, they give you all these tips on how to get rich, but they're not really doing those things anymore, because to them it doesn't, is what you do in the beginning. So I need to see that you're constantly either reworking or upgrading that advice that you're giving to me. That makes it real to me.
Yes, that that is the big difference at the end of the day, is the authenticity of it. Being able to, again, be real. Be real, and you gotta come with yourself. There were plenty of days where I was tired. Other people were tired, but even in that, I'm like, all right, I started this. I said that I was going to bring this, so hey, I got to bring this. I got to be real with it, and you got to be upfront with the people. You got to be upfront. There was times where I had to apologize and let them know that, hey, I can't do this right now because of this. And people will understand. People, they're not going to crucify you. You would hope not, because at the end of the day, we all have things that go on in our own lives. But you just gotta be authentic. You gotta be as authentic as you can be.
Right.
Yeah.
And still learning how not to necessarily push through, but to use that energy, that energy to get you through something versus letting it sit you down or give only a percentage of yourself. So today we have a few topics that I wanted to close out
Mhm.
with this season.
Okay.
And I wanted to I, the one that I started, we kind of hinted to that a little bit in this conversation, but it was setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, and goals.
Yeah.
But on the side of boundaries, and I'm gonna say to you, speak, and I want this conversation to feel like it's just you and I, and then
Okay.
everybody else is just in it. Uh, but I have a hard time setting boundaries
Me too.
because I am a I think, what did they call it? I forgot what the term that they an empath. So I
Okay.
absorb a
Yeah.
lot of what I
Yeah.
feel around people,
Yeah.
and it gives me the impetus and the urgency to fix
Yeah.
that thing that I feel around me.
Okay.
And I hate disappointing people. So I there have been times where I skip a curtain call because I had a gig right after. And
Mm.
because I couldn't tell one of them no,
Mm.
I made myself look bad because I didn't finish a curtain call. And there
Mm.
may have been somebody who wanted to meet me after that play to give me another opportunity. So I cut those things off. And
Mhm.
then I was running late to the next play or the next gig, which made me look
Mm.
bad because I was running late.
Wow.
So that messed with my integrity. And overall it messed with my integrity because I couldn't tell people no. And people know that you're struggling with this and still hold it against you. And, and still bash you for trying to be all you can be for them and everybody else. Because
Mm.
they want your time as an individual. They don't want
Yeah.
to they don't care about what you have to do with
Right.
anybody
And
else.
you care about the commitment you have with that individual. Yeah.
And they don't care. They'll see you struggling with everything else and still like, well, did you get done what I need you to get done?
Mm.
Or what I told you, or what I asked, or what I needed. And
Mm.
I had to learn boundaries. So for the last 2 years, I did a lot of hard stops in terms of people and relationships. If
Mm.
you did something or you caused something, even if it was a minute thing, hard stop,
Mm.
because I had to refresh and I had to
Mm.
restart how I set boundaries.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you're struggling with boundaries, I'm gonna put a link up to Iona Van Zet, and she has a
Oh,
couple great
I love her.
series.
I'm.
Her
Oh,
series
yeah.
that she did over this quarantine has been phenomenal because we get her up and close and personal. And she
That's the
did a
one she
couple
has
of
on the
boundaries.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. That's the one she has on channel, is it? She's
Own? No, she does Fix My Life on Own.
yeah,
But
yes. Yeah.
But throughout the pandemic, in addition to that, she's
Mm.
been just going live on her own platform,
Oh, okay.
giving like
Okay.
she got me through this. And even when I felt like I was at my lowest
Mm.
because of it, it
Mm.
still got me through the process of like
Wow.
this itemizing everything that I was feeling versus feeling everything at one time, and I
Okay.
was all over the place with it.
Oh yeah.
But she has a couple episodes where she deals with boundaries, and and have you ever heard yourself say, why do you feel like you can treat me like that, or why are you doing this, or what makes you think you can do that? Have you ever felt yourself saying that?
Yep.
That's not setting a good boundary.
Mm. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's being defensive, and that's going into protective mode. That's not setting a good boundary. And
Okay.
I was good at, who the hell you think you're talking to? Or do you talk to your other friends that way? Or that's
Uh,
not setting boundaries. Because what's
mm.
that showing to the person, you have an open door for them to be able to go in every time they feel like doing whatever they were doing.
Mm.
And sometimes people are unconscious of their behavior, and sometimes people are very aware of
Mm.
what they're doing and what they're saying. And I had to do a lot of hard stops and cut a lot of individuals off while
Mm.
I'm fixing that reset button in myself. So boundaries look more like, I will not allow you to talk to me that way, and then doing something about it.
Okay.
So if you're not in setting consequences, so if you continue this behavior, you and I won't be able to talk anymore. Or you and I will not be in this relationship, or I will no longer be an
Mm.
employee here if this does not fix itself. So it's not about giving people chances, but it's you setting a hard no and then setting consequences. Because what's the point of saying or complaining about something? Because that's what we're doing when we're asking them, why are you doing this to me? Or who do you think you, that's what we're doing. We're complaining at that point, and we're not prepared to do anything about it.
Okay.
We're just wanting them to fix their behavior without any consequences. And we know you have a child, even your 2-year-old still has consequences.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you're still learning those things. You had consequences at one point.
Yep.
But if your mom kept saying, stop playing with me, you better stop playing with me, you're gonna continue to play with her. And so you understand how far that goes. So I got about 5, you better stop playing with me. Or do you want me to, before she actually does something? And we started doing
long.
right. Right. And that's where we got a lot of that behavior from, when we saw people not doing anything about, you know, what they said they was going to do. So we learned how to get over and push the envelope even further, you know, and because you didn't get in trouble before, just like the first time. So setting healthy boundaries, are you good at it?
Well, I know this year has definitely been big on me learning new concepts, and that is definitely one of them. I will admit, setting boundaries is something that I wasn't really privy to until, oh my gosh, last month actually, where I really found out what it was, found out what it meant, and really found out why it's important. Because, you know, as you said, we allow people to get away with so many things. Until, you know, we actually give them an ultimatum, like, hey, if you continue this route, this will happen. And so I bring up my mom because, you know, it didn't take long. You know, we crossed my mom. It's normally one and done. It's normally
okay.
You cross that line, it's a wrap.
I got you.
Sir. Yes, sir. You cross the line, it's a wrap.
And that's a boundary. That is not the healthiest boundary, but it's a boundary nevertheless.
Hey, it worked. It worked. You know what? It worked.
You didn't do it again?
I did not do it again. No, sir. Okay. But you know, that's just one aspect of parenting has evolved and just changed completely since I was coming up, where it's like, you know, people are so sensitive nowadays where like you can't like really out and right discipline your child. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But the boundaries, yes, that is definitely something that I'm learning even more so now. I'm actually started writing things down in my in one of my journals about different topics that I plan to touch on more and introduce even into my own personal program and challenge. So that is definitely something that I need to definitely get some help on.
Okay.
In setting boundaries. And one thing I did learn is that, you know, especially over the holidays, you know, the holidays are a big thing because you have families, you have friends, and you have these big gatherings. And so, you know, you don't want to disappoint. You know, you always feel obligated to come and, you know, bring something. And, you know, you get looked at a little funny if you don't bring something. And a lot of these things can stress you out. They can really stress you out. The holidays, they're supposed to be joyous times, but they're also some of the most depressing, unfortunately, especially now, and real like anxiety crankers, because it cause you to think, you know, oh my gosh, if I don't bring this, if I don't do this, this person's going to look at me this way. This person's not going to like me, so and so and so and so. And so your mind is just in this, you know, perpetual cycle of, oh my gosh, you know, you're already coming up with your own outcome of a situation before the situation even happens. You know, let's say it doesn't even happen. You've already established in your mind that, oh my gosh, this is going to happen because I did not do X, Y, and Z.
I'm laughing at you because this is, it's real. It is a real thing.
Yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
You know what makes it so hard? Our inability to communicate. Not necessarily that this is hard for me, but our inability to simply communicate.
Yeah.
What that hood ratchet cousin that come in and don't bring anything and take a bunch of plates And the same family members say the same thing to them that they say to you, and that person normally say, "Well, I don't have it like that," or "I don't have it. I just don't have it this year. Sorry."
Yeah.
And that's so hard for us to do. Like, I don't have it to be able to bring a whole turkey to your dinner. I don't have it. I don't have gifts for everybody. And I set a bad precedent by trying to be that person every year and get everybody a gift and always get everybody. And at some point I was like, no,
I can't.
when your day comes around, you don't get that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And it's. I remember I had one year when things weren't looking so good financially. I didn't set a boundary, but at the same time, I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't. Christmas was coming. I was like, nah, I can't do it this year. I can't.
But it should not. It shouldn't take you not being able to do it for you to say I can't do it. You should have heard those warning signs when that account was like dipping before, and you say to yourself, no. And it's not about being selfish, because that's what I used to think it was. You know, I never wanted to be called selfish, you know, or bratish or anything. And I didn't want that label or that stigma. So I would go over and beyond for individuals and for everybody. You know, if you asked me to do something, I was in it. Like, I was your partner. That's how in it I would be. And I just couldn't, you know, we say we can't when literally the card declines. Oh, you know, I can't do it. And then we still find a way to bring that down even more. So it's setting boundaries. How have you learned to effectively set boundaries?
Well,
not just cut people off or don't communicate.
Well, I mean, with me, since it's something new to me, it's being more open and upfront with my conversation. In terms of, you know, I can't do it. You know, I won't do it because of this. I can't do it because of this. So I mean, like you just said, you know, that communication has definitely got to be there. Otherwise, we're going to be, you know, leaving people to their own devices, trying to turn them into a mind reader, you know, and you know, try to, I mean, I guess unintentionally force them to try to read our minds, try to guess, you know, why, you know, brother so-and-so or uncle so-and-so isn't here or isn't doing this or hasn't or didn't bring this. So I think definitely communication is definitely key, you know, up front and have it open. And, you know, just like you said, I mean, just like I would set a goal, I would really look at, you know, how my relationship is with this person and go, you know what, I can't do this because we haven't arrived at this point yet in this friendship, relationship, whatever the case may be. So I think communication would definitely help a lot.
And it is not, you know, at this point, especially throughout all this, I stopped looking at what the other person did wrong, because it's justification and you're feeling like something was wrong. You were wrong or something happened wrong, but we have to often look at that as at ourselves. And I really looked at setting boundaries as my lack of communication. Learning how to ask when you need help, even if they give you a no, it shows you how to ask. Now, I'm not saying, you know, because you know you stomped your toe and you have a splinter, you need to do a cash app call for people to help you. But figuring out a healthy balance of when to ask, how to ask, and just letting people know. I was so embarrassed at one point in my life because I was going through a lot of stress. There were financial issues, but the stress of it all was more than anything. And I remember we had a service at church, like after the service, and my pastor was really good at understanding when somebody needed to say something. And I had never, even if I had something to say, I was never the person to use those moments to say it. And I remember like talking, and I couldn't control. Once I started, I couldn't control it because everything that I was going through at that point was coming out. And I remember looking at my friend was sitting a couple rose in front of me, and I was burning a hole through her head because I wanted her to turn around, so that would force me to shut up. And she never turned around. And she said to me, I wasn't going to turn around because then you would have stopped talking. And I was like, why did you do that to me? But after the service, people would come up and be like, yeah, I've been through that. I don't have nothing to help you with, and I was like, but I wasn't asking for anything. I needed to get that out. And I've never publicly done that at all. Even one-on-one with friends, I've never done it at that point. So because of that, I learned not to ask for anything or to tell people when I was hurting. And that, and it had probably stemmed from other things, but that was my public embarrassment that forced me back into that closet of not knowing how to ask for help. And that ties into boundaries, because you begin to do things because you don't want to be embarrassed, or so you allow people and things and places to dictate how you move.
Yeah.
And this really didn't fit into anything else I wanted to talk to you about today, but it's a great way to start a new year. Learning how to set healthy boundaries. Now, I know 2 years ago, I set some unhealthy boundaries because it was too much going on. So I just had to cut a lot of stuff that was not, and I'll say in the last 2 years, I was cutting a lot of things that did not mean me any good, or things that had hurt me before, because I didn't have the time or the patience to deal with it. So I just cut it off. Now, to me, that's not healthy, because that person is still wondering, what happened,
right?
Or are mad at me because I'm no longer communicating, and that became unhealthy because I could have said what was wrong, right?
Turn them into a mind reader, unintentionally.
Right. And I tell people all the time, if you would have just said that to me, I would have known, but I wasn't good at reciprocating that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because for me, when you do something wrong to somebody, you did something wrong. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't intend to, the feeling. Mm-hmm. You understand that. And you just assume that other people got that same receptive, or that receptive as well. But
no, sir.
I can't read your mind.
Right. I know for me, when I know I did a oops, and
not a oops.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, I started to build up like a lot of heat. Like my body would get like real hot, and I would feel like all these eyes on me, like somebody's watching me, and looking at that person is hard, because it's like, oh shoot, I know I upped up, and it's I know for me it's hard. But I can definitely attest to that. Being the one that used to just cut you off flat out. We can't.
Because you did something wrong.
It was me and the other person.
Okay.
So it was a two-way street, but at the same time, that's all I knew. To be honest with you, that's what I knew, and that's what I went with. And at that time, I would feel good. Initially, I feel great. But then after a while, it's like, oh man,
you
can't
keep doing that. You look around and you like, I'd have cut everybody's knees off. Now that everybody standing with me, and so I've been there, but it's hard when and I'm not telling anybody it's easy to forgive somebody who did something to you, but that forgiveness is really for you.
Yeah.
Because if that person keeps doing it and you see that they're not willing to change or grow really, then you got to move on. And if you and I've said this several times, I'm willing to be by myself. If that means I'm not around people who don't care about my feelings, don't care about what their actions are to me, it really just, we have to learn how to communicate our feelings, or we'll be stuck in a cycle.
Yes.
We have to learn how to communicate. I growing up in a family full of women, I didn't learn how to do that. And if you got combative with them, they'll always pull the girl card, and you like, let me just go over there somewhere.
Yeah.
So, or with guys, it's gonna be a confrontation.
Yep.
If I tell you these things,
Mm.
or I'm gonna be looked at as weak if I bring to you a gripe.
Yeah.
And I never felt like dealing with those things. Today, I am very confrontational, and for the most part of my life, I've been confrontational. I'm not afraid to tell you, what you did, or to be combative with somebody. But I didn't like that energy that you feel when you're combative, or you when you collide with somebody, or you have to face. I didn't like that energy,
Mm-hmm.
because for guys, we know aggression and cool and calm.
Yeah.
And very few of us know how to balance that, or live in the between
I
of
agree.
it.
I
And a
agree.
lot of us, we know how to get mad
Mhm.
or be sexual. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And
happiness, and the happiness exists in that.
yeah, and I could definitely attest to that as well. It's so easy to get upset, it's so easy
Uh-huh.
to get mad, and I don't mean for this to veer off from the
No,
conversation.
but this is all it goes into because
Okay.
I want to go into next year with a better plan. And all of this, no matter where the conversation goes, because I still have my bullet points, but we can
Okay.
stay on this right now.
Okay. But yeah, it's easy. It's so easy to get upset and so easy to get mad, and it's
Hmm.
not. You got to give yourself grace. You got to
Yeah.
give yourself grace because I know even in this part of my journey.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm a bit more self-aware of who I am, and I have ways of coping with different stressors and different situations. But there's still times where I get pissed, I get mad, and I want to just punch a hole in the wall. But even in that, you got to be able to give yourself grace. So those self-care days, the days where you go, you know what? Nah, not today. Today is a Nate day, or today is a Fred day. I gotta do for me.
How
So,
how how long did it take you to do that and to
bro,
actually apply it?
that took all of the latter part of this year because this
So if I'm not if just to be clear, a
Mhm.
lot of this discovery for you has happened in 2020.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it started in summer of last year, but it
But
really
that's
came.
still a year ago, though. That's
Yeah,
still like a year
yeah,
and a half ago, really.
yeah. It's still a bit fresh, but with certain lessons for me, it don't take long for me to nope, I got it. I don't need to I don't need
Yeah,
to
but up until that point, are you an external or internal exploder? Like when you're
that's
mad, is it internal or is it external?
a lot more internal. A lot more internal. A lot.
You are basically a ticking time bomb up
Yeah,
until this
basically,
year.
basically, yeah. So
Wow.
I exploded, quote unquote, last year, and this is me basically now more so on a rediscovery, and going about doing things differently. Going
Yeah.
about dealing with stressful situations differently. So yeah, again, you
Yeah.
still get upset, you still get mad, you still have your low moments and all that. But
Yeah.
now that you are more self-aware of, okay, I don't want to be that same, like you don't want to be that same Nate. You want to
Hmm.
be that different Nate. I don't want to be that same Fred. I want to be a different Fred. I want to be a better Fred. So how is this better Fred going to address this stressor or this?
See, that is scary to me because, and this speaking about the men that I knew,
Mm,
most of them were internally
mm,
aggressive,
mm.
meaning they hurt themselves more than they hurt the people that were hurting them.
Basically, yeah.
Or they acted out in ways
Mm,
that were totally extreme.
mm,
I Part of me wishes I had one big explosive moment,
mm.
but I had a bunch of little one-on-one explosive moments.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I kept losing friendships in the same way. Like it was scary because I would lose the friendship in the same way with this person as I did with that person. And it
Okay.
would always end in us not talking to each other anymore.
Mm.
Or us finally communicating. And then that was like too much for the other person because
Mm.
they were expecting a certain Nate, and
Mm.
I wasn't willing to be that anymore. So then it's like, well, who do you think you are? Like, how dare you show up as your best self when I'm used to you showing up as, the quiet Nate, the
Mm.
Nate that didn't let us see when you were upset or angry, or the Nate that acted like everything was fine.
Mm.
You know, even though I did XYZ to you, how dare you? And I had that, but I had a bunch of different, smaller explore, and then I would just go off. Now, man, you ain't benefiting no more.
Mm.
Now, man, you ain't cool because I'd have had to go to 1,000 on something that was just like a 5.
Yeah.
And if I'd have resolved it back then, I would have been good. But now, ooh, I didn't burn the bridge. I exploded the bridge.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
demolished it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's I didn't realize how much of a time bomb I was until I really
Mm.
was forced to get help. And I know I know I touched on it in our earlier
Go ahead.
conversation.
Go ahead.
Is that when I definitely started to get the therapy and
Mm-hmm.
start to speak with my therapist on a more one-on-one basis, the more
Okay.
I realized that there was a lot of things that were just adding to that pot. It was like a big ass stew I was making that was bound to just overflow, and
Mm-hmm.
it happened in the previous summer. Who's to say it wouldn't happen before that, or after that,
Mm-hmm.
or even this year. So, it just so happened that it happened then. And, the more and more we talk, the more I realized that, wow, you know what? I had a lot of issues and I had a lot of things that were, working against me that I didn't know. And, I was just going about life, just, doing the best that I knew to do.
Right.
Unfortunately, all of it wasn't healthy.
No.
All of it wasn't.
Because that. So, how old are you?
I'm 32 now.
So you would have been one of those people who at 30 had a heart attack, and
Could
nobody was like,
have.
what was wrong? Like
Yeah,
he's
definitely
always
could have
so
been.
pleasant and so
Yep.
nice, and
Yep.
not realizing the bomb that you're sitting on.
Yep. And that is I love that you bring that up because there's so much that there's so the mental and the physical are so linked, brother. It is mind blowing
Mm-hmm.
because there's so the body has its own equilibrium. Is a homeostasis. So the
Mm-hmm.
body is always seeking that balance. And so
Okay.
whenever something knocks it out of kilter, or if you can think of it as a scale, an even scale, if something is off kilter, you're going to be out of whack. You're going to either be anxious, depressed, upset, tired,
Mm-hmm.
not really
How
motivated.
did the feeling manifest itself? And when I say how did the feeling, for me, when I would be my most agitated, even if I wasn't in an argument with somebody, I would feel it in my arm.
Mm,
And I didn't connect the feeling until my mother had a stroke.
wow,
And that's what she kept holding her arm.
wow.
And that's how I connected a feeling to it. So what was the feeling that was attached to you realizing this don't feel good. This ain't normal. This ain't good.
I know for
Or
me,
was it a feeling?
was one of my physical signs was that I would shake, and it wasn't like a nervous kind of shake. It was more so like, I guess, my body reacting to the stressor. Basically, your body reacts to stressors differently, and that was my body's way of reacting to a confrontation or a
Mm-hmm.
stressful moment. Is that my body would literally shake, like
Yeah.
my body would literally shake, and I could see my hands literally shaking. So that's what it was for me.
Because
There was.
that's it's energy going through, that's your nervous system. Your body is reacting
Mhm.
to like an outside stimulus. And
Yeah, and then there will be headaches. There will be headaches. You know, the body temperature will go up and all that. So there will be headaches and all that stuff. So yeah.
Did you connect it? Like, did you realize in this moment I'm suppressing this, and I already have all this stuff under me that
Not
I'm suppressing?
not then. And that is part of the problem. Overall, part of the problem is that in that situation, you know, even if I didn't know all that I know now, even then, you know, I was ignorant to the fact that, oh man, this is something that I need to, you know, get checked out or need to get help with.
Right.
No, going through it, you know, you want to have that release. You know, you want to you want to direct that energy somewhere. So unfortunately, a lot of times it comes out as, you know, a physical altercation or confrontation or a fight or, you know, whatever the case may be. But at the time, no, I wasn't even thinking that way. I was just like, oh my God.
And that's the scary part.
Yeah,
That's just because I watch a lot of guys like you. I watch people like you in general. Like I said, my mother had a stroke. I watched her go through the same eating of your feelings constantly.
Mm, yeah.
And I kept saying that'll never be me. And then it happens to me. But I
Wow.
watched a lot of guys
Mm,
internally explode. And then
yeah.
one day, you know, their girlfriend did something that was wrong, or their wife, or one of their children, or a coworker, or friend, and now that person's in jail
Yeah. Yeah.
because they've harmed somebody,
Yeah.
and justifiably they were mad at that person, but everything they were carrying came through that fist or that gun or however they acted out in that moment.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
and I deal with anger from other people differently than I did before. I
Mm,
listen to what they're saying because often they're telling you what is really wrong.
yeah.
And often when we're in a confrontation with somebody,
Hmm.
the argument is we go like this, one, because we're not being heard and you're not validating what I am saying. Not even if you don't agree with it, but you're not validating that I'm actually speaking in this moment. And a lot of us just harbor a lot of that.
Yeah.
So how does this connect to boundaries and setting goals? You have to be one with yourself,
Yeah.
mentally fit,
Yeah.
in order to break cycles.
Yeah.
A family curse is hard to break, and it takes sometimes generations and many people to do that. But had bad habits, it starts with this you making a decision, a choice really,
Yeah.
on what you want, and then setting that goal in terms of what you want, and then applying it
Yep. I
on a
agree.
daily basis. I'm going to set this boundary. No, I'm not going to work for crumbs anymore. No, I'm not going to let you determine my worth. No, I'm not going to let you continue to treat me like something or mess up my name or cheat on me or treat me like I'm less than. You know, I'm really, in sidebar, I'm really upset that that the OWN network is letting go of Iyanla Fix My Life. I'm because it's, and I don't put her on such a high pedestal, but her level of honesty is what many of us need,
Yeah.
and few of us are willing to accept.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and because many of us don't know, when people talk to us like that, we get defensive. We want to fight, we want to argue, we want to walk away, you know, want to slam a door. We're not used to people being constructive and direct and openly communicate with us. We're not used to being checked in
Yeah.
that way because we don't do it, and we're most certainly not used to getting it in return.
Yep.
So in terms of setting boundaries, it's very important into going into the next year that you, one, analyze how have you set boundaries? How have you respected boundaries? And that actually takes us into my next bullet point, and that is best ways and practices to analyze your current year. Because often we run into the new year with this list of things we want to do, and we don't understand a lot of those needs are based on what we did not get this year.
Yeah.
So what happened? What was
I,
the breakdown?
Oh man, if I was to, Jesus Christ, what did I write down? um, well, what I basically wrote down is that it was a hell of an eye opener. 2020 was a hell of an eye opener. I was now again, my incident that got me onto this journey happened in 2019, but it segued into 2020, and so many other things just added on top of it. So it was a hell of an eye opener for me. It was there was some good, there was some bad, and there was a lot of ugly. But even in that, man, coming to the end of it all, there was a lot of things that I learned. More definitely about myself, definitely about how to go about bettering myself. And when you ultimately better yourself, things around you just start to get better.
They have to change.
Yes, exactly. Honestly, things just started to get better. And so the more I stopped looking at things as, oh man, I'm being victimized. Like all these things are happening to me left and right. I got arrested. I had to, I lost all this money. I had to go get therapy. I had to, go through all of this crap. I had to deal with the courts and all this crap, court orders, and not being with my son as much as I wanted to loss in the family. And once I stopped looking at myself as a victim and more so as somebody that, okay, all this happened, but guess what? You're still here. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to just sit? Are you going to continue to sulk in a corner and cry about it? Or are you going to do something to get yourself better? Are you going to take those setbacks and use them as a launch pad to get yourself better? And so I decided to get myself better. And so it really started with that therapy. Honestly, man, that therapy really, really got my mind better in terms of doing things positively, doing things in a healthy manner to go about bettering myself. But even in that, man, 2020 was so rough. It was so rough. But because I was equipped, thank God I got equipped to be able to cope with things down the road. I was able to, come out a little better. Come out,
But just look at all the people who couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
All the people who felt the need to go out and do something. And I began to, part of me was like, I need to get out of this house. And I'm not a person that I was dreaming for a year where I could just sleep and rest and be led by my own devices. I was waiting for this. Like this was the extended winter break that Kirk Smoke took from us in our childhood. Like this is what I always envisioned. But when I started seeing people that couldn't sit still, I started looking at it, made me look at myself more, and I was always busy. And it was a lot, even me looking at my home, it was a lot of stuff that 8 years ago when I moved into my apartment, I said, I'm going to do this to it and do this, and it's going to look like this, and it's going to look like this. And I'm sitting and I'm seeing some of the supplies that were supposed to help me get to that, but I never did any of it. And I never made my house a home, and I, and on top of that, it was a lot of stuff that I was avoiding dealing with myself. And it was heartbreaking because I thought I had a better relationship with me. I thought I was better at doing me than what I really was. And I was like, not me. Like, I'm the one that's always life coaching other people. So how am I at this point? But it was a lot of me not supporting me, not making sure my cup was full and overflowing. It was a lot of me dealing with other people's issues and not my own. It was a lot of that. And I started looking at, that's why people can't sit still right now. They are really afraid to be by themselves and with themselves. And it's not like uncomfortable. I think they were really fearful of it just being them. Because what does that mean? That value is attached to their relationships.
Yes, yeah, and you know what? That's real powerful because I had to spend a lot of time with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Lyft driving for 8 months, so I had passengers, but when I dropped them off, I'm in the car by myself, and so I'm driving home by myself. I had to go to sleep, and wake up, at times by myself and do it all
Mm-hmm.
over again by myself. And so I guess I'm fortunate in that regards because I had a lot of time to really reflect and I was able
Mm-hmm.
to really, think out how the hell did I get here? What the hell happened? What the hell did I do wrong? And really start working towards, oh yeah, no, I can't keep going. I can't keep going about life like that. I can't keep going about doing
Yeah.
things with that mindset or with that attitude or with that perspective. I have to really change what's going on up here so that I can, have a better outlook and start to do things in a more positive way. So I had that alone time was very beneficial for me, man. Very.
Because even when you not at the point of saying the things that's on your mind out loud when you by yourself, you be going. It was one moment I was so angry at myself for some of the decisions that I had made that I was in my bathroom, and my bathroom has always been like the place that I feel most comfortable talking to myself because you're in a mirror and you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And it was times that I would just be in my apartment in any room and like, why what
Yeah.
the hell wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, why are we back here at this moment?
Yeah.
Why are you entertaining this?
Mm.
Or why are you back at this same moment of need and frustration? Like, what didn't you get the first 1,000 times you went through this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a day where I was going off on myself so much that
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was talking to me.
Uh,
It felt like it was somebody else in here talking at me. And
wow.
I have, as an adult, I've never felt more childlike in my life.
Mm.
And it was scary. It was so scary because we don't often become that honest with ourselves until we don't have no choice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always ran away from that level of self truth because
Mm.
it was like I ain't got time for that. Let me go join this other club, or let
Mm.
me go fix somebody else, or let me go get another gig, or let me add on something else. And I found myself even resorting back to that during this pandemic because I was taking on so much virtually. I started doing other people's shows and doing live performances and trying to audition for other virtual, and I was just adding stuff on. And around, like, I want to say like July, I said to myself, sit your ass down. And I heard it, not to say God talks to us like that, but I think he does.
Mm.
I think sometimes he speaks us at our own understanding. And I heard sit down.
Mm.
And because I was doing too much and I was still pouring out, and I found myself like I worked hard even during this pandemic, like very harder than I was working before,
Mm.
and you still giving everything out to everybody. What have you say for yourself?
Ah. Ah.
So that idea of setting self boundaries was definitely a thing. So as I look back over the year, I have a critical eye still, but I'm not going to beat myself up. So what worked, what didn't work? What
Yep.
can we take with us? What will be beneficial in 2021? What won't be beneficial? How can we alter, change, grow, adapt, upgrade for the next year? Or this may not have worked, but were we onto something? Did I have the right direction, or was I totally off? So now that's how I look at my year looking back.
Okay.
I'm no longer like, man, new new days, new friends, new life, new. I'm not doing that no more.
Mm.
Because if you're not worthy to go with me, you're not going with me.
Mm.
But I have to make sure I get through to the next year, and then I can everything that's pouring over in the saucer, then that's what I could give to you. I
Okay.
can no longer give you the things that I need to fuel and keep running.
That's
I
real.
have to be in a surplus mode
That's real. That's real.
to be generous and to be giving, and that hurts me.
Mm.
But what am I giving you if I'm on E? And
You
why are you still taking it? And you know I'm on E.
right, right. No, that's real. That's real. And I'm not laughing at you
Hmm.
when I was laughing earlier because the bathroom is a lot of times that's where a lot of my self-talk starts. But
My most profound
most
statements.
profound statements start. Yeah, but the shower, whether I'm in the mirror myself or if I'm just walking around the house, I will have a dialogue. I will, talk to myself. And a lot of the times, even with you, you're like, hey man, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like,
Hmm.
why are we here again? But what I have to start catching is that, all right, don't be so self-critical. Again,
Yeah.
you got to give yourself some grace. You got to,
Right.
okay, yeah, you bumped your head again, or you fell back again. But all right, what have you done positively, to
Right.
keep you moving forward? Okay, yeah, you didn't do everything that you wanted to do just yet, but
Hmm.
what have you done already to start getting you to that point? Like what have
Right.
you done already
Right.
positive? So getting it into the next year, man. That's one of the things that we talk about in the session. I don't want to give too much away because I want people to join it. But
So go to Facebook, go to the Mentally Fit Challenge, and he has a cycle. So the one that just started what today, or the selection process started today.
I had to change the date because I had to get myself right. I had to get myself ready. But it's the first portion is always mentally fit, and the second portion is always physically fit.
Okay.
You got to get the mind right before you commit to something physically, whether it's a workout routine or any kind of physical activity.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that we touch on is talking to yourself, but talking to yourself in a positive way. We have a lot of negative critiquing that we do to ourselves internally, unfortunately, where it drags down and pulls down our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-image. And there's a way to change that conversation, to change that dialect. What can I say about myself today positively?
Right.
How can I up myself? How can I big myself up? How can I, brag on myself?
But that's once you've gotten to that space. And I'm not saying abuse is the way of doing it, but
Hmm.
for me, sometimes what the hell are you doing?
Hmm.
You
It's
know,
a way to
sometimes that
get.
gentleness is
Mhm.
why you're back at that place. Sometimes you need a kick in your butt to
True,
get it moving.
true, true. So then I add to that
Hmm.
with, okay, write it down. Write it down. Write
Okay.
something good about yourself. Write something down that you like about yourself. You already spent enough time, talking about what you don't like about yourself. Like, you know what, I really don't like how I handled that. I don't like what I'm doing right now. Okay, so right now, write down something that you do like about yourself, as you can go back onto and go like, okay, I am that. So let me not think the contrary. Let me
Let's not stay in that space.
Yes, there you go. And so you hold yourself accountable. It's a way of
Right.
holding yourself accountable to being that better you. Okay, the better Nate, the better Fred is this, and that's what I want to hold on to. That's who I want to bring into the next year. That person.
And giving yourself that balance,
Yeah.
because for me, it was never, I was never too extreme in anything. I always was good old, dependable, even kill, nonchalant Nate.
Mm.
And that led me to a lot of delusion because I was not hard on myself. I was not overly easy on myself, but I just kept that even kill, go straight through type of mentality. But it really does, all of this helps you to itemize your year
Yeah. Yeah.
and really decide what you want, what you don't want, like I said, what you want to upgrade, what you want to improve on, and all that whole list of things. And then it helps you next year not to set goals that are so lofty. And when we say stuff like that, like they should be lofty, it gives you room to grow. No, when you set goals that you know you're not going to obtain, then you're back at where you were the year before at December 31st, mad at yourself because you didn't get your checklist done. But
Right.
but have a plan, and it goes into making a plan or a strategy. And that takes us into uh bullet point number 3, and that is new year, new checklist.
Yes,
So for
sir.
me, I try not to bring that same, like, well, if I didn't get it done this year, let me bring it into this year. So if last year my goal was to lose 30 pounds,
Mhm.
what prevented you from losing the 30 pounds? Were you not consistently going to, the gym, or were you going to the gym every other day, but you still was stopping off at Popeyes after you left? So now I have to deal with the behavior. Then maybe I need to deal with the behavior
Mhm.
or the mindset that I have with food. Because
Mindset.
no matter how much I exercise, my relationship with food hasn't changed.
Yep. There
You
you go.
know, as Black people, we celebrate everything over a pot, everything over the skillet, and it is healthy. It's how we've learned how to stay connected, but often some of the stuff that we're eating are killing us. And I'm saying it. And I love Popeyes. I love a cheeseburger. I just love a biscuit. I just love those things. Those are
Yeah.
comfort foods.
Yes.
But do I have to have the fried chicken? Maybe I can have the baked chicken. This baby step in it, but just understanding why I eat. Am I mad? Am I
Yeah.
frustrated?
Yeah. Yeah.
My thing used to be the opposite. If I was sick or pissed off, I didn't want anything to eat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would force me to be. So my mother used to always try to get me to be in a good mood. Like, you got to eat something. Let's. So I started doing it. I started trying to be always in a good mood. And
So
what you do when you're in a good mood, you eat,
you eat. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or you reward yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna reward myself. I did a great job today. Let me reward myself with a big old piece of cake and some ice cream. And that's good, but maybe you shouldn't have had the ice cream and the cake.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have
Yeah.
chose, and maybe both of them should have been smaller portions.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm understanding this,
Uh-huh.
but the application is a whole other
Yeah, I
process.
was just
So
about to say, bro.
on my checklist, it is okay. How do I apply this? I know it, but how do I apply it? So it's creating that checklist. What's your checklist for 2021,
I
or
checked
what's some line items?
2021, what we write down. Um I wrote down a couple things, and this is great because I normally don't do this. So thank you again for sending me
And
this.
I know my time here is limited, but we're going to talk after, because I want to, some of these topics I wanted to really flush out. So let's figure out how we can flush them out and be able to help other people in the process. But
Yes, sir.
don't, I know we kind of rushing through it because we stuck the time now, but go ahead.
That's fine. So there are two things that I started to really enjoy doing. I'm sorry, three things I really started enjoying doing. One is meditating, two
Okay.
is stretching, and three is Tai Chi. So all three of those things have really helped out with my balance. You know,
Okay.
you're talking about not wanting to overly consume certain foods and things like that. So my process has started to be, I don't want to overly exert myself, because I do, in addition to the fit challenges, I also do a challenge just about daily where I'm doing a physical exercise. So
Right.
I never wanted to overly exert myself to the point where I have no energy to do the rest of the stuff that I got to do. So how can I go about balancing that out? Meditating was one thing that I learned to start doing. Stretching, definitely before and after, is another thing. And taking up Tai Chi. Starting Tai Chi have really helped me to balance myself, relieve stress, relieve anxiety. It helps me, clear my head, clear my mind. So going into 2021, I want to continue those things because I've seen the benefit. I've seen the benefit of it. So why not continue to go with something that you see works, that you see
Mhm.
helps? So those are just some of the things I have on my checklist.
I think for me, um, and I didn't write this number one, but at the top of the list is make sure I am good at all times.
Okay.
Continuously do mental checks with myself to make sure
That's
health wise I'm good, mentally I'm
good.
good, relationship wise.
That's
I
good.
when I'm in the presence of other people, I all like when I first met you, one of the first things I always ask people, what can I do to help you? Or what do you need?
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want to be in a space where all my needs are being met and the people around me are drained.
Yeah.
Because if everybody around me is good and I'm making sure I'm good, then we gonna be excellent. But
Yeah.
again, making sure I was good wasn't at the top of my priorities. So everybody else was beginning to flourish, and I was still where I was when I started with them, which
Mm.
is, pointless. But making sure I'm always doing really good self checks with myself,
Okay.
making sure that I am not only setting goals, but I'm meeting my goals, or at least I'm making sure my goals are moving forward.
Okay.
And and just becoming a responsible adult is hard. Being an adult is tremendously hard.
Yeah.
Um, Being a black adult male is just astronomically hard. Um, but making sure I'm always aware
Mm.
of my space,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people who are in my space,
Yeah.
just always making sure that that environment is healthy
Yeah.
for everybody concerned, whether it be me, because I know I can resort to a space where I am not mindful
Mm.
and I go on autopilot and I stay in that zone,
Mm.
and then
Mm.
life happens and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I was going to work every day and I was doing such and such. Yeah, but she wasn't, you were in between this gig and this gig, you were stopping at 7-Eleven and eating,
Mm.
instead of making a lunch or
Mm.
choosing a better option, when it's time to eat. And those small little things, or while I'm fulfilling the things in life that you need me to do, I'm first making sure that we are both getting something out of this.
Mm.
And that makes me feel very selfish, but you have an expectation to succeed in this. Why can't I? You
Yeah.
know, and really, so those are at the top of my, like, going into 2021 checklist and beyond. Those things will always be on my list moving forward, making sure my space is good, making sure the people around me are good, constantly doing mental, physical check-ins on myself,
Okay.
and just maintaining as much balance as I possibly can.
Okay.
And
Okay.
just putting self before anybody.
You
And
got
that's
you. Got
selfish. Like,
got you.
I used to wonder, I used to hear people say that all the time. People who had children. Well, I got to put my mask on first because if I'm not good, how to make sure the children good?
Exactly.
So, always making sure, that you are at your best. So
Yes.
you're always giving your best. So that
Sir.
that is creating that checklist happens, and it should happen. I try to do it after I've looked at the year at large. So
Okay.
I know what things I need to make priority and what things I need to add as, low item levels that still are important, but aren't as urgent as, say, self care or
Right.
making sure my health is good and making
Got
sure, I set all my appointments and I'm making sure I'm meeting all those appointments and dates and deadlines and such.
you. Got you.
So just it's just a full circle way of kind of going into the new year. And these are things that I'm applying to my life that we all make resolutions. So, you know, but have a plan. A resolution is just a goal, a dream. But a plan is so much more solid, you know, because then you have to itemize that plan and put it over the course of that year. And, you know, I love resolutions, but, you know, sometimes resolutions can be somewhat fanciful.
Mm. Well, I will say this. I actually stopped doing New Year's resolutions years ago.
Okay.
So I mean, the last couple of years, to be honest with you, man, they kind of just happened. Like they ended and another one started. To be honest with you, so it was never. It stopped being a push to make a resolution,
Mm-hmm.
because I was one of the ones that was nonchalant and just went about life, and what happens happens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I still kind of feel like it's not really necessary. I mean, it's necessary to dream and visualize and see yourself better. Don't get me wrong, but putting, calling it a resolution. I
Is
mean,
it the timing that is ineffective for you, or
I'm
because
thinking,
you're clearly like the goal setting, but is it just
yeah,
the timing, the
it's
pressure of the time setting?
yeah, because with me, I like to, even more so now, I like to
Uh-huh.
be able to think a little bit more freely. I don't
Okay.
want to box, something in on like one day, because a lot of people make their New Year's resolutions like literally the last day of the year. And when you should always be dreaming, you should always be, trying to think, how can I be better at this? How can I better
Right.
my craft this way? you know,
But
where
that also shows a lack of planning when you wait until the
yeah,
12th hour to make a plan.
yeah. And then you wonder why you start the year off so rocky. It's like, well, what the hell?
Right. Or rush. You feel
Right,
rushed into it.
right.
But
And
it
it's
go ahead.
not like you can't foresee things that happen. Don't get me wrong. You can't,
Hmm.
no one can, predict the future. But it's just like, I don't want to limit my creative thinking
Right.
one day.
But
Where
I think it's the timing that affects many people because we set a goal and come January 3rd, we just ready to get it moving. And then reality hits, you know, or a pandemic hits, and
yeah,
then what?
yeah,
The
exactly.
plan, the plan allows you the reflection,
Yeah.
and then the planning
Hmm.
of the next year, the goal setting is really what helps when life happens. So now I have something to to pivot from. But if
Yeah.
I'm just setting a resolution, okay, my goal was to exercise every day, but that's not a goal. That's the result or the byproduct of setting an actual goal. So not I want to lose 30 pounds, but I want to be healthy.
Okay.
So that begins to be the goal. So how am I going to get to that? Okay, I'm gonna exercise on every day that begins with fatigue. This starting a small like step, but the plan becomes the larger plan. So when something like a pandemic happens, that doesn't affect you because you've already, like when you create a lesson plan, you've
Yeah.
already it's like a contingency plan almost.
Yeah.
So if something happens, I still can pivot. I still
Right.
have that goal. So even if I can't go to the gym, what
Hmm.
can I do where I'm at?
You do it.
Where Because I still have the same goal. The goal hasn't changed. It's just the
Right.
activity has changed.
Hmm.
So that's how. So in our last couple minutes, I want to speak about healthy resolutions, and in that vein, so
Yes,
creating more of a contingency plan,
yes,
um,
sir.
where so I have wiggle room to pivot or exchange out or change things. I know you're not big on resolutions, but how can we set healthier resolutions?
Well, I mean, it all has to start in the mind, brother. It all has to start in the mind. I was having a conversation, not like this, but I know I was talking to my sister earlier, And this is one of the things that I mentioned, like it all starts in the mind. Every decision, every action you take, it starts with a mindset. It starts with you like literally committing to yourself that, hey, okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, well, how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna do this, and then I'm going to get to that. So I mean, you gotta get this healthy, honestly. You have to get your thinking healthy, your mindset healthy, and just your outlook healthy. How do you do that? You know, there might be some things that you have to stop doing. There might be some things that you have to start doing, some habits, you know, some things that you may have to separate yourself from. I know me, one of my healthy resolutions, going along with the conversation, is to start unplugging from certain things like social media or technology.
Or video games.
Or video, yes, a video game.
I'm only saying that because I don't play video games.
No, I mean, but it's real. I mean, for some people, you know, we are addicted to video games, or we're addicted to television, or we're addicted to social media, or we're addicted to technology. So a healthy resolution for me is to unplug from certain things, you know, because the internet and social media, as good as it is, it has a lot of bad to it as well. A lot of bad where, you know, where it forces us to look at things differently, to think about things differently, because we're told the same thing over and over and over and over again. And eventually we start to see it as, oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, you know what? You know, this, you know, that is true. So let me unplug from these things that are constantly feeding me junk so that my mind can, you know, breathe. You know, I can breathe. So that's some of my healthy resolutions, is to, you know, just continue to get my mind healthy. And how do I do that? To build healthy habits, you know, and healthy routines.
And understanding that it's an ongoing process, that it is not going to happen when the clock strikes 1 a.m. It's just not.
Right.
Some people are good at saying, I'm going to do this, and they do it. And I always wished and dreamed for that level of willpower. But my reality, and I'm often the reality of a lot of people I know, is it's a day-to-day process, and we have to be honest about, you know, doing all this, making a dream board, setting goals, and living your best self constantly takes work, and it's the type of work that requires us to be at our best. Can you, as we close out, can you let us know how we can find you on social media, and just a little blurb on your challenge?
Yes, sir. So I can be reached at Facebook. My full name, Frederick Brooks McIver, all underscore. That's my main account. My Instagram is Frederick McIver, again, underscore. Name fully spelled out. My actual challenges that I start is called The Fit Challenges. And so that is a Facebook group that I have, facebookgroup.com/groups/The Fit Challenges. It's a private group, but the challenges are based out of that group. So if you want to partake in the challenge, join the group, and then, you know, we move on to the challenges at the start date. But the challenges are split into two. So you have a week of mentally fit, where we partake in mentally fit challenges. And then the second part is the physically fit portion, where we partake in physical challenges. And all of this is geared toward combining the two and seeing how our mental health and our physical health really go hand in hand.
And that's it. Follow this gentleman on social media. He's a very positive brother. I love the consistency that I'm seeing, and the forward motion that I'm seeing. So we have one last show for the year, and that's actually going to be our drawing for the Vashti Blue holiday giveaway. So you still have time. You have the rest of this weekend. Go to www.vashti Blue buy a piece of jewelry, and you'll get an entry into the sweepstakes, and we'll actually pull the winner on Monday. So great. Peace out. If you don't tune in Monday, if I don't see you before then, have a very happy new year, and much love and respect to you, sir. Thank you for joining me again. And you're going to see him in the new year, because I'm revamping what this show is going to be for the umpteenth time. So definitely stay tuned, stay locked in for that. And this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Peace out. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, toasty, coronavirus free.
Yes, sir. Yes.